Before we start, please support our channel by subscribing, and click the bell icon for future notifications. Now, let's start. Hello, welcome back to the Gemma Movie Recap channel. In this video we will discuss the storyline of a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe entitled Thor, Love and Thunder, which was released in 2022. No need to linger anymore, we go straight to the storyline of the movie. The film begins in a barren desert with Gorr and his daughter, Love. When her daughter was on the verge of dying of starvation, she prayed to her god Rapu for help, but her prayers fell on deaf ears, and she died in his arms. After burying his body under the sand, he starts hearing voices calling out to him in the distance, so he follows him and finds an oasis filled with fresh fruit, which he immediately starts eating before meeting Rapu, who is revealed to have it. Kills the newest user of the Necrosword, an ancient weapon that damages its user and absorbs their life force while granting them the ability to kill gods. Gorr believes that he has been brought before Rapu to fulfill the promise of an eternal reward, but Rapu taunts and laughs at him, revealing that there never was one. The betrayed Gorr then abandoned his god, prompting Rapu to start strangling him to death until suddenly a Necrosword called out and cursed Gorr, allowing him to stab Rapu in the neck. With this newfound power, he swore that all gods would perish before landing a final and fatal strike. The scene moves to a place precisely on a planet called Asgard. Thor's best friend creates a group of Asgardian children. About legend mentions that Thor grew up in battle and became a legendary hero. He saved the world many times but also lost many people close to him like his mother Frigga, Handel, and Loki. Since his last adventure, Thor has changed his body from fat to stout,
putting in the hard yards, turning.
He has also done many adventures with Guardians of the Galaxy and the Airbrush group, and Thor hides a lot of pain behind his tough appearance, where he still misses his true love, that is Jane Foster. Now Thor spends his time meditating and will wake up if someone says, "Thor, we need your help to win this battle," but at that time Peter Quill or Star-Lord from Guardian of the Galaxy came and said it. Thor immediately wakes up and tries to protect Asgard with the Guardian of the Galaxy from a sacred temple, because the temple is no longer protected by their god because they were killed between the time of Gorr's oath and the current battle. As a result, Thor flamboyantly and single-handedly defeated the invaders while also destroying the temple on his way to victory.
Well done, everybody. Hurrah!
King Khan then gave him 2 tough goats.
World are bestowed with great.
Those things are beautiful. King Khan, thank you so much.
The group then travels to the Guardian of Galaxy, Milano. Inside the plane they see a large number of distressed summons that have appeared across the galaxy, as a number of gods have been killed by a man labeled God Butcher, and one call even came from a close friend of Thor, Lady Sif. So, with so much danger, the team decides to part ways. Sadly, Thor is then cheered up by Star-Lord when he understands what it's like to lose someone. But he says that it's better to find love than never love at all. With that and an abnormal handshake, the Guardians of the Galaxy depart on their ship, leaving Thor and Korg. Thor and Korg are trying to find a ship. They soon make through the Bibrist on the galactic frontier ruled by the now deceased god Falagr by the giant there. They find Sif defeated with a severed arm, and he warns them that God Butcher is heading to New Asgard. Then, after Asgard was destroyed during Ragnarok, these leaders were forced to move. They chose Jotunberg, Norway, which previously housed the Tesseract, which contains space stones, for centuries before World War II, where it was collected by shields. In honor of their home planet, they renamed the village New Asgard, which has since thrived under the leadership of the Valkyrie king, who was given a mantle before Thor's departure from Earth with the Guardians. But they now face their first attack when Gorr sends a shadow monster for the children to capture the city, and this lead to a battle between the monsters and the Asgard army, who then joins the returning Thor, but he is quickly distracted by what appears to be the sound of the former hammer Mjolnir, which his father had given him and used for him centuries, until his sister, Hela, the goddess of death, destroyed him with her bare hands. He has since created a new weapon, Stormbreaker, but is still fixated on the return of Mjolnir, so he calls it towards him, but to his surprise, it reappears into Jane's hand. Thor met Jane more than a decade ago after being expelled from Asgard by her father, which caused the two to fall in love and be romantically involved for about 4 years, but they soon became distant from each other as she spent more time. It seems the two will never see each other again until recently, when Jane was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Although he is starting to receive treatment, it is estimated that his chances of recovery are slim. However, he soon found new hope after failing to summon Mjolnir, so he went to New Asgard where the dismembered Mjolnir was. This eventually led to the two breaking up. But before Thor can try to understand, Gorr arrives and the two engage in a brief brawl until Thor overpowers him and he retreats with the captured children as they begin their search for the children. The two Thor need some time to catch up after about 9 years apart, though Jane considers it closer to 4 years. Possibly because he was betrayed for 5 years by Thanos, but Thor was soon contacted by one of the captured children named Axel, who happened to be the son of the former powerful gatekeeper of Asgard, Heimdall, who was also Thor's close friend before being killed by Thanos. His powers were passed on to his son, hence why he was able to bring the ghost of Thor's vision into the mouth of the Shadow Monster, where the children are currently trapped after realizing that they were headed for the Shadow, a world where Gorr will be at the peak of his power. Thor, Korg, Valkyrie and Jane plan a trip to the Omnipotent City, home to the most revered and famous gods who are overseen by the god King Zeus, Olympics, hoping to get their help. In the battle before they start their journey, we see that although Mjolnir seems to be beneficial to his health, his actual strength causes him to become weaker, with him dropping the hammer to reveal he is sicker than ever. This prompts a flashback to when he was a child, when his mother was also dying of cancer, but his mother's words encouraged him to keep fighting and he took the hammer back. So the four of them made their way to the Almighty City in a ship led by Stormbreakers and Screaming Goats. And once there, they disguised themselves as gods of emotion to join the Council of the Assembly of Gods, where they passed several gods, including the likes of the god of dumplings and the god of the Korg race, the Kronans, and one of the Nani. Zeus then made their grand entrance before the council and started discussing where they planned to have a party this year, as well as announcing the winner for the humans. All that G was sacrificed the most in the name of the god who turned sour, Jane the Valkyrie, towards him, but Thor still believed in Zeus ever since he became his hero growing up, and finally he approached the stage to ask for his help in raising the army against Gorr, but Zeus didn't believe he was a threat, ignoring the fact that he already killed a number of gods, which made Thor question his integrity, and for that Zeus turned him to the ground and removed his disguise with a flick of accidentally removing all his clothes, in the process revealing Loki's torn tattoo as well as one with a list of lost loved ones on his back. Thor once again tries to plead. He explains that Gorr was kidnapped as a child of leadership, but still Zeus refuses to offer help, believing he is perfectly safe in the Omnipotent City and is not worried about attaining immortality, one of the cosmic entities at the center of the universe that is said to grant the wishes of people first to achieve it. Because he doesn't have the key, so after receiving it they won't help, asking for Zeus at least allow them to borrow his lightning rod for battle. Zeus refuses that request as well and refuses to let them leave everything as they potentially reveal the location of the Almighty City in Gorr, so he sends his bodyguards after he forces Jane, Valkyrie and Korg to intervene, which then prompts Zeus to get involved as he launches a thunderbolt at Korg's body, apparently killing him, before then launching at Thor, but Thor furiously catching him and launches it back at Zeus, stabbing him through the chest. Apparently, even though Korg survives the attack, as the only part of the Kronan it needs to survive is its face, so Thor grabs it and leaves with Jane and Valkyrie, the latter stealing Zeus's lightning and back on their way to the Shadow Realm, although a little worried that the whole god community will hunt them for the rest of their lives. During their journey, when he and Jane see the space dolphin, Thor become overwhelmed by his feelings and finally confesses that he still loves him, but as Jane's response reveals that she has cancer. The heartbreaking news doesn't stop Thor from pushing for love though, as he no longer wants to let his fear of losing love stop him from experiencing it. Also, the two share a kiss and promise to spend the remaining time. Finally enter the Shadow Realm, but confused as to why the kids didn't show up there until after further inspection Jane realized it was a trap afterwards. find the writing revealing the Bivrist and in turn the Stormbreaker is the key to immortality, so he launches a gun at the stars when Gorr appears and traps them in the shadows. He tries to force Thor to summon the axe but he won't budge, so Thor uses his love for Jane, fights him and starts strangling him to death, which manages to make Thor summon Stormbreaker. The three then engage in battle against the Goron shadow monsters, but as the battle wears on, Jane starts to weaken, and with her weakening and Thor gets distracted with the Valkyrie shadow monster finally gets stabbed in the stomach by Gorr. Thus they try to escape via the Bivrist, but as they begin to travel through it, Gorr is able to grasp the Stormbreaker and pry it out of Thor's hand. After arriving back in Asgard, Jane falls unconscious, so Thor takes her with Valkyrie to the hospital where she is told that Mjolnir drains Jane's life force every time she uses it, making her unable to fight cancer, so he tells her to stay here and rest while he goes to save the children himself, believing that if there is a chance for him to live he should accept it because it could be the last chance to be together, and although he wants to keep fighting he agrees to stay behind. The Valkyrie also can't join him in the battle, so he gives him Zeus lightning, which he then uses to quickly travel to the center of the universe where Gorr has started using Stormbreakers to unlock the gates of immortality. Also have the Asgardian children who Thor quickly saves from captivity and gather together, realizing that he can help them aid him in fighting the shadow monsters, so he has each of them take whatever weapons they can find and use them. Use Zeus lightning to give them for a limited time only Thor's power. The kids then engage in a battle with the shadow monsters as Thor fights Gorr, and even though the kids succeed on their side, the fight continues to be better than Thor and are on the verge of killing him before being knocked off by a Mjolnir launched by a returning Jane, who had felt his lover's suffering, so decided to use Mjolnir once again, and together both were able to defeat Gorr and destroy the Necrosword, freeing him of his powers while also recovering the Stormbreaker, which Thor then threw at Axel so he and the kids can return home. But it seems it's too late because Gorr has managed to open the gates of immortality and has started walking towards the entity, ready to make his wish for, begging him to stop, but Gorr insists he must believe it's the only way to avenge his daughter, so that Thor accepts defeat and leaves to spend his last moments with Jane, although he hopes that Gorr will choose love like he has and bring his daughter back. But the dying Gorr claims that he will be left alone and without a father, which Jane assures him that he wouldn't know that Thor would take care of him, so he used his one wish to revive him and share one more moment with him before being defeated by the curse of the sword. Jane's time was running out too, so she and Thor shared "I love you," and those proved to be his last words as he passed following their last kiss goodbye. And then we again hear from Korg as he tells the legend of the mighty Thor Jane Foster, which has since been immortalized in Asgard with statues. We also see that the children have now started training in battle under Sif and the Valkyrie King, while Korg himself he has completely regenerated and is trying to produce offspring with a fellow Cronin named Dwayne. Meanwhile, Thor has started raising Princess Gorr as his daughter and travels with her throughout the galaxy while using Mjolnir and Stormbreaker respectively to offer help to anyone in need, while being known as Love and Thunder in the mid-credits scene.
They are simply known as...
We see Zeus still alive as he recovers from his injuries, angry with how superheroes have reduced the perception of the gods, so he sent his son Hercules to kill Thor and reminds Galaxy that gods should be feared. Once again in the scene post-credits we see Jane enter the gates of what is revealed to be Valhalla by Heimdall, who welcomes her into the afterlife.